Hey guys, it's Dr. McDowell, and today's episode is Black Women, Sex, and Baby Daddies. It's one of those terms that has a negative connotation, but I think when we think about Black women, our history has made us breeders by nature to really, build the country. So it's unfortunate that a lot of times we get these shameful terms that make us feel a way about having a baby daddy or not wanting a baby daddy. So today we're talking about all of the different narratives and nuances that surround that term, how we get into those situations, what we do while we are in them, if we need to do anything at all, if the judicial system supports us, if we have more drama, and if there are husbands after baby daddies, if we even want them. So I got a good friend to come and hang out with me to talk today, but I'm looking forward to your thoughts, opinions, and comments as it relates to baby daddies. If you got one, if you plan to get one, if we're setting them up, or what some of our plans are. So I'm looking forward to this one. Don't have a baby daddy. Don't plan on having one. I mean, that's the whole point of getting married, right? Ooh. Talk to you soon.
Rita, hand me my glass and come roll my hair for me.
What you getting all fresh for tonight, Miss Deb?
I'm heading out to go stepping with a guy from the job. Rita, you've been quiet and weird the last couple of days. What's going on with you?
I just been feeling stressed out or something.
Rita, what kind of stress does a 15-year-old have?
Hand me another roller, Mom.
Answer the question, Rita.
I'm pregnant, and it's Mike's baby.
Mike, the basketball player at the high school?
Yeah, him.
Didn't I drop you off over there one time for a birthday party or something?
You did. What's the point?
That was his family home? That big Greystone building?
Yeah, Ma, that's where he live. You met him, too.
What year is he? A senior? Okay, what'd he say? What's his next move?
He got a basketball scholarship to one of those Big Ten schools. It's a big deal, I guess.
You keeping it?
What, Ma?
Rita, I'm telling you, you keeping it. When your grandmother got pregnant with me, my daddy was married and owned a lounge. She ended up with his house we living in now, and he had to pay monthly to keep things neat,
Yeah, so what does that have to do with me?
Let me finish, girl. Then I got pregnant with you when I was 16. Your daddy was a barber then, but I knew he was going to own the shop one day. I secured my spot early. I mean, yeah, he like 10 years older than me, and I knew I would be straight if I had his baby. Basically, everything I've been able to do for you, getting pregnant by him, set me up for it.
Mom, what you're saying is that I need to keep this baby? I'm a junior in high school. I don't know nothing about being a mom.
Rita, you'll be all right. First thing you need to do is make sure that's his baby. Don't tell him nothing until you too far along for an abortion. Keep hanging with him, though. He probably got the type of mama that's going to get lawyers and run tests, but we going to do that first. When you start showing, we go down to that state office and get you signed up for a voucher. The state will probably give you about $1,000 to rent a place, and we can move out here finally. They probably will give you stamps.
Ma, you going in, ain't you? It's like you excited or something.
Look, as of yesterday, I didn't know what your future looked like. Today, we planning. You got a baby by a basketball player who is going to school on a scholarship. You a basketball player, baby mama. Better than a married man, better than a barber. You the next generation, baby.
Wow, Ma, I never thought about it like that.
I know. Put my scarf on so I can sit under this dryer.
Ma, what you think I'm having?
A daughter.
So the baby daddy episode that we're doing today is really personal to me, right? So I don't have children. I have 2 dogs, and I always hear about babies and the negative connection to having a baby daddy. And when I wrote the book and you hear the intro, I'm talking about how African American women have really been the breeders for this country. So for years and years and years, you are told that as soon as you have your menstrual cycle, you're prepared to breed for whoever and whenever. And it doesn't matter if you're married, it doesn't matter if you're in love, you're just there so you can reproduce. And then we get to post-Reconstruction, and all of a sudden we're supposed to be religious enough to say, no, I'm not gonna get pregnant or even consider the activity that can get me pregnant until I'm prepared to fall in love and marry a man that I'm just supposed to know how to have sex with, and not just have sex with them, have good sex with them, and I don't even know what it is. So when you read a lot of the research as it relates to becoming pregnant, becoming a baby mama, and the shame that is connected with it, it is almost unreasonable to ask us to shift off being one way and then turn on being another way with nobody to give us any guidance. Horrible articles that I've read and horrible stories that I've read about young women not even knowing when their periods were supposed to start, what they were supposed to do, never had a conversation about their bodies or their periods, so they had no idea what sex was, what they were doing until they actually became pregnant. And then once they became pregnant, they were sent down south They were sent to an alternative program. They were embarrassed by the administrators at their local high schools because they had to leave. And then everybody looked at them a certain way and said, oh, you had a baby without a husband, as if that makes things easier or better. Why is it that we do these things to ourselves? In some instances, a lot of us in 2020 either don't want children, or we're doing it for ourselves. Or we have those lesbian couples who have decided to take a different route, and you have some married couples who are working on surrogates because some women just don't want to do what babies do to your body. So they're taking a different route. But the conversation today is really, how are we selecting them? My mother told me that it's not necessarily about having the baby, it's about who you have the baby with. We can figure out how to take care of you and your child, but do you really want to have a connection to someone that you really don't know, in some cases really don't like, for the duration of your child's life, which we know doesn't stop at 18, Lord willing. So the systems and structures that are in place legally, maybe they're a little janky, I don't know. But I know that it costs more money. I know that it costs more anxiety. I know that it leads to a lot of stress, and in some instances, mental health challenges, just with having to deal with not only your children, but the different personalities as it relates to the men that you picked. Not using this episode to say that there's anything wrong, but we are talking about baby daddy bashing. Luckily, my mom decided that even though my dad was an addict, he was an absolute interesting character as it relates to who we were at the onset of my life, but she didn't bash him. She didn't dog him. She told me that I would one day get to meet him for myself, and I did. And of course, after a lot of relationship development, I decided to love him no matter what, and we're continuing to develop our relationship now, but we hear it in the streets all the time. Baby mamas are hollering and screaming and cussing to their kids about their baby daddies. So what is that doing to them? We got to really be mindful about some of the decisions that we're making. But this show is not about judging you in any way and making you feel away. So since I don't have baby daddies, I wanted to make sure I brought on somebody that I don't just like, that I love, who I consider family, who I was raised with, who does have baby daddies. She got into the game a little early. So she's giving us some insights on her story, what she's learned, and what she should do next. So I'm excited to have my girl Diamond come and hang out with me. Good to see you. And of course, we're not talking about no parts of baby daddies or sex without a beverage. You say judge your mama.
I'm ready to start drinking that.
I understand. So listen, we about to get into it. So I told you that today's episode was about black women, sex, and baby daddies. Seems like it's kind of taboo, or some people don't even like the term. So I had to bring in who I think is one of the subject matter experts, because I grew up with her and her family. So I told you she was coming on early, but I got her here. It's my girl Diamond.
Hey, girl.
No, and look, that's her real name. I found a nail tech, and it said that Diamond and Mercedes could do my nails. I was like, what did they used to do? But no.
Right.
So introduce yourself to the people that are watching.
Well, I'm like, this my sister friend. I've been knowing her forever, and I am a single mother, and I do have multiple baby daddies, so.
So when I spoke earlier, we talked about a lot of the statistics and a lot of the negative connotations that are connected to having a baby daddy, right? So I talked about how the onset of being a black woman in this country was to breed. Right. Nobody cared about your relationship status. Nobody cared about whether you were married or in love. We were having babies. Then you skip to this, era of like shame as it relates to having a baby daddy and not being married. So can you tell us how you ended up with more than one baby daddy? And I mean, we could change the term up if it sounds kind of funky.
Child, it is what it is. But well, first and foremost, you kind of know my background. So my grandfather and my grandmother were married, and all their children were brought up in the house together.
How many Doziers are there?
They have 7 children.
See?
And pretty much all the children have 2 children. But so coming up, I witnessed, that 2-parent household. And even with my parents, pretty much, were married or whatever. And so I kind of had a high standard to live up to. Like, I wanted to be married. I wanted that cliche, that housewife, and I didn't want to work.
So not the American dream, the female dream.
Yeah, like I was okay with being a housewife. It was okay with me.
Okay. Because your grandmother was a housewife.
She was for the most part.
And Mr. Doja took care of
the bills,
of
and she cooked and cleaned and
so
kept the house.
you figured,
So like,
I'm okay with this.
I was okay with that. So my first daughter, her dad, my first baby daddy, I was living in Tennessee at the time.
Okay.
Probably about 23, 24. And we were dating, and I was wild back then, but so he was living the street life, doing the street thing. And so when I found out that I was pregnant with her, I'm like, you know, we gotta change, we gotta get jobs, and we gotta do this, and we gotta do that.
Right.
And, you know, straighten up, because I didn't want to bring a child into the environment.
So something about being pregnant, it's like, let's fix things.
Like
let's
that
be
motherhood
different.
instinct. Yeah, like
Okay.
it's like it instantly like kicked in.
Okay.
And so he was just like, no, like what's been working has been working. And so I kind of like gave him an ultimatum, like, if you're not trying to get a job and do ABC by this date, then I'm moving back to Chicago, because that's what, you know, most of my family is here.
Right.
And he didn't, and so I did, and here I am.
Okay, so that's number one. What was the situation with the second father?
So two, it was like, okay, I'm not doing the street thing, you know, the street guys
you picked
anymore.
the street one again.
No, I'm saying I'm not doing the street guy anymore, so I'm taking a different approach, and so I got this truck driver and
Stability.
yeah, you know, something stable, middle class, you know, something okay. And he was a nice guy. We were dating, and it was like perfect. And then I got pregnant.
Oh.
And then it was like his true colors just like came out. Like he did a whole 360, and I wasn't willing to deal with it. And so I think my daughter was like maybe 9 months old when we separated. We were living together and everything. Like he proposed like several times.
It was a whole situation.
But it's just that, you know, I didn't want to be one of those people that got married just to say that I'm married.
Right. So what was the reaction? So some people will say that 22, 23, 24 is a good age because of whatever reason they think a good age is. But a lot of times when we think that there's shame connected to it, it's because you're in high school, or you haven't completely educated yourself, or you're not working. Once you found out that you were pregnant, was there excitement followed by, you know, shame or disgrace in any way? Like what did you feel?
Yeah, well, with my first one, it was just total excitement. You know, first time mom, like it was total excitement.
Okay.
The second one, it was kind of like, you know, oh, here we go again, because I'm not married, you know, even though we living together or whatever, but I'm not married. So I always wanted to get married before I started having children. So it's like, oh, here we go again.
So what was your family's reaction? Did you feel, because in a lot of cases when we think about having to break the news, if we're raised to feel that it's easier to say I'm having my husband's child or whatever the case may be, did you feel a way?
With certain relatives, you know, for the most part, my family, they're pretty accepting. You know, it's like we deal with what we have to deal with it, you know. And so I think for the most part, everybody was pretty receptive to it, and they were okay with it. But like some people like, oh, you having another baby? And, you know.
So that second one. So with me being a part of your village, or my family being a part of your village, and us being raised on this block where I say we had the best sense of community, and I would say like the most elite space to be raised on was 99th and Morgan in my eyes. Do you feel like any of your distant aunts and godmothers and grandmothers prepared you to be a mom?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Because most people would think that by, you know, being in the house with my mother and my grandmother, because, you know, people, their parents were on drugs and this and that, and out in the street, or just wasn't present, which my parents and my grandparents were, but it was just like kind of, everything was old school.
They were present. They weren't on drugs.
They weren't.
I just want to make the
Yeah, right. Please. My mama not on drugs.
A lot of people in our community
I'm sorry.
are affected at that, but you had two very present grandparents.
Yes.
Got it.
And so just being, but like I don't feel like I learned enough. I don't feel like I was prepared enough. Maybe it was me like not paying attention when, but I don't feel like to have parents and grandparents in the home, I wasn't like fully prepared.
Okay, so let's dig deep. We got that. We're not prepared. We know that sometimes black women give us all the information we need and nothing. So let's get into the sex part. I was raised to believe that it's not that you're scared of having a baby, it's who you may have it with. Meaning we got the mother thing down pat. You got your mom to help, your aunts to help, whoever, it's the guy and your expectations of the guy. And when those shift, you shift. So let's talk about, before we get into the sex, let's talk about the drama. What have you gone through
Woo, child.
having two baby daddies, like that you don't think you would have gone through if you would have went a different route?
Well,
I'm gonna drink to that.
co-parenting, like right now, finally we are with both of them getting to like a good space with the co-parenting. That was the biggest challenge, because it was like when I left the relationship, it was like, well, fuck them kids,
Right.
it's to speak.
Yeah.
Because I don't care what anybody, I feel like if you're not in the home, the child don't get that same care.
Okay.
And so that definitely, it was a big difference in it. Like,
So something about the mom no longer being in a relationship with the dad kind of puts the child on the back burner.
that's how I feel anyway.
Okay.
That's what happened to me, looking at my situation. That's how I feel about it.
So you post a lot. And I love your page because you're very open, you're very transparent about whatever it is you're going through. But you just recently made a post about your baby's father. You said you guys went somewhere, or you were planning to go somewhere for Father's Day. Was it a zoo? Where did you say you guys went?
I was gonna take him to the dog park.
The dog park.
So that he could play with his friends.
Oh. So, and I saw it and I laughed. I said, she's going to the dog park for Father's Day. Do you feel like we, as women of color, when we get in those situations and outside of relationships, do we bash them a bit more than they bash us? Or do you feel like, hey, this is what I think of you. That's why I'm posting it.
I think I was the baby daddy for the most part, because like I post my little jokes or whatever, but like as far as speaking about him or them to a third party, like I never
Right.
did that, or even went into like personal instances or examples. Like this happened, this situation happened. It'll be a joke or something in general, which kind of does reflect the situation. But I feel like it makes light of it, because I'm kind of personal.
Okay. So a lot of research shows that, women, especially women of color who have multiple fathers, have a harder time financially. And it's interesting because we all know kids cost money. We all know that no matter what, it's going to be more work and it's going to be more of a commitment. But what I've been reading is that women of color specifically who have multiple fathers, so not necessarily the burden of a child, but I'm assuming all of the legal battles, maybe all of any cases, if you will, make things more challenging financial, and that it takes a lot longer for you all to reach financial freedom or a space where you can build generational wealth because of these dads. Have you experienced anything like that?
Absolutely, because I felt like if I had the proper help, then, because me, I work 2-3 jobs plus all my 50,000 hustles, because I'm going to do. But I feel like if they were more active, then I would have to do less, so to speak.
Okay. Do you feel like the systems or the judicial systems are in place to support you?
Girl, let me tell you about my child support check.
Take a drink.
We gonna take what a bottle. I had a $17 child support check, and that was for a month, and that was after I had got nothing for like 4 months. $17, like, what's that?
So the process to obtain child support, is that better? Is it seamless to file now, or what does that even look like?
I mean, it's the whole runaround. It's a lot because they have you come down there, they interview with you, then they have you come back and fill out more paperwork.
And this is with you taking off work to go to these interviews? Because I'm assuming it's doing business hours.
Every time.
Okay.
Taking the train because I don't want to drive downtown to the Daily Center.
And park.
And then you show up to all these court dates and then you get a damn $17 check in the mail. And the other one, I haven't got nothing, and she's 4.
Wow. So you have a 4-year-old, you've never received anything?
Through the system.
Through the system, got it. You never received anything through the system. Okay. So if you're talking to someone now, because we all have unprotected sex, is literally the best sex you can ever have, right? And if I truly believe that everybody I have unprotected sex with could potentially be the father of my child, meaning the scary part, even though we were both raised, if you get pregnant, your ass, and then fill in the blank. But we knew that if we did, mama gonna step in, grandma gonna step
Everybody,
in.
absolutely.
But this person that you're now attached to, what's the advice? Because can you really think like that?
I don't know. I feel like now you have to now I look at it like that. Like, if I sleep with this person unprotected, this could be my baby daddy.
My baby
daddy.
daddy.
Do I really want this to happen again?
Okay, so you gotta be mindful.
And then I think, like, even with my dating, it's like you get one chance now with me, like, and I be like, oh, I don't like him. And my friends, they like, you don't give nobody a chance. I don't like him. He like, cause it's like once you do any little thing, one little red flag, like, it's over with.
So are you saying baby daddies make you bitter?
I'm not gonna say bitter. I just feel like it opened my eyes. So I feel like I don't want to repeat that same mistake or that same situation. So now it's like I'm on the lookout for any red flags because it's always red flags, and a lot of times we tend to ignore them for somebody that we really like or whatever. So now it's like not ignoring it.
Okay, so you no longer pretend not to know. You take these as life lessons as best you can.
Absolutely.
That makes sense. So in additional relationships, moving forward, if there's a husband to be and somebody different, it will be a husband to be.
Jesus.
Is there any tension that you think that could arise? Should those two baby daddies still be around, become more active? You guys have history. Do you feel like in some cases baby daddies challenge future husbands?
Not mine. I can't speak for nobody else's.
What do you think explaining? Do you think as black women sometimes you may have a challenge explaining to this guy, I have 2 children, but I also have 2 other men that are attached to these? Do you think it's harder?
I think if that man actually loves you and your children, because if it's your husband, he's supposed to love your children, then, like, I feel like love overcomes all. Like, I know it sounds cliche, but
it doesn't. But you're thinking you shouldn't have a challenge. But do you ever feel apprehensive, first date jitters, explaining, or do you feel like if you know Diamond, you already know I have 2 kids?
Well, like you said, if you know me, you know I have 2 kids because that's all I talk about. But I don't think it's the 2 kids as much as the 2 baby daddies. Like oh, she got 2 baby daddies. Like, what's wrong with her?
Because something comes with it. You think?
Well, to
saying you have 2 baby daddies.
I feel like to a man. Sometimes, like she got 2 baby daddies, so either she crazy, like it's something wrong with her. I feel like that's what I felt like for a while, but like why she got 2 baby daddies. But now, like, it is what it is.
So let's go to the flip side. Do you feel like, in your experience, based on women you know or women you've heard of, because one of our chapters talks about generational baby daddies and how it's about the snatch for security, right? You said that Mr. and Mrs. Dozier, they had a system where grandma was pretty much kept for the most part. I mean, the same as, my fraternal grandmother was also kept. And we think that this is the life that we want, and then we seek someone who seems as if though they can provide that. And then we basically catch them up as best we can. So a lot of men are afraid, if you will, that once they get into a comfortable space or seem like they're about to be in a space, maybe they are the star athlete in their senior class. Maybe once you get in your undergraduate experience, they're the ones that came with a full scholarship. They're the frat boy. They already have jobs in place. Or maybe it's the #1 dope boy in the neighborhood, or the one that you know the mixtape is eventually going to turn into a actual deal. Right. And you say, let me put it on him. And then it's a setup when he's not interested. He was never interested in fathering your children. And he knew that you were trying to kind of catch him up. Do you know anybody? Have you heard of anybody like that? Thoughts on the snatch, if you will?
Yeah, you know, from where we're from, it's a lot of people like that. But in my case, I think I was tricked. I was bamboozled and hooked. And Lifetime, I'm ready to tell my story.
Oh, you said Lifetime is ready to tell your story. Well, listen, we'll send them this web series so they can start the treatment. But, so do you feel that some women definitely use that as a play?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And it's not fair either way?
No, it's not.
So would you tell our audience, and maybe some girls, because in a lot of high schools, that's the play. It is a security mechanism, whether it's to receive state assistance, or government assistance, if you will, or give you some foot in the door financially outside of depending on yourself. So what would you say to them as it relates to how hard it is, if that doesn't work out, to not only maintain yourself, but 2 children and everything that comes with multiple men that have to be in your life?
Now, at this point, first you gotta always
secure your own bag. You know, you can't rely on anybody else for anything these days. So your education, your career path, your life, that's on you. You can't leave that in the hands of anyone, especially not men. So don't do it.
So last question, with your 2 daughters, and you know, they're getting older. You have very feisty girls who are extremely intelligent. So
we don't have none of those comments, babysit
at all. Okay. No, we can't skip. We can't skip past anything because they're really smart.
I never wanted to be one of those bitter baby mamas that always down the kid. I mean, always down the parent to the kid. So it was like, you know, in time she'll see for herself, and now she has started to see for herself. But I can actually say it has made him step up too, because, you know, like you said, they're feisty. And so she'll call him and she'll ask him for something and he don't have it. She'll be like, that's what you said last time, you know. And so then that's like, okay, I can't keep telling her that. So now he does a little more. But I let her see for herself, and then, you know, I kind of talk her through it.
Yeah. It's funny, my mom had the same approach.
I'm 35, this is my mom at 35, and there's a black company in Chicago called Essential Creations. And I said, you know, we always wear stuff with like Marilyn Monroe on our shirts and other people. I said, well, my mama was dope and so was my grandmother. So if I'm gonna put a picture on my shirt, let it be her. And oddly enough, with my dad, that was her same approach. She'll learn for herself. If I give her all the tools that she needs to become as discerning as she needs to be and as educated as she needs to be, he will show her exactly who he is. And then she'll come back and ask me questions, which I did. So as an adult, great relationship, but I know my father really, really well.
So I appreciate her, you know, giving me the opportunity to learn for myself without bashing him, which is, I think, the best play. So it's interesting that you say that. But thank you so much for letting us get in your business.
It's okay, you know.
So I think we, you know, dispelled a couple of myths and really just gave a platform and a voice to a lot of quote unquote baby mamas, right? That you're gonna make it happen, but if you decide that you're going to enjoy that experience, make sure it's a possibility that you can maybe not co-parent, maybe not co-live, but just coexist with the person that you're deciding to make a baby with, maybe. So cheers to your 2. Honey,
that's it.
They're going to give you a run for your money.
Though.
That's it?
So.
Unless you give your husband one. No tea. Thank you, Diamond, for coming to hang out.
No problem. Where the rest of that bottle?
So the thing is, with baby daddies, at least what I grasped, it doesn't matter. We're all at some point going to have unprotected sex, and we're all risking possibly reproducing. But I think with black women, if we just make it a point to not judge one another, and if you are in a situation where you got pregnant by somebody that you honestly don't like, you never liked, know that you're not by yourself. You weren't the first. Also, make sure that you're preparing the next generation to know exactly what their options are. Sometimes we're so concerned with, I don't know, hell and damnation, or making sure that they're financially stable, or making sure that they go to college and pick a trade and become successful bosses of society, that we don't explain, hey, this is what your period is and this is what this means. This is what you're feeling and why you want to do this with this person, and really tell them your story. If you struggled as a single mother and you struggled as someone who maybe was financially stable, but you really just didn't care for the person that you had a baby with, tell that story to a younger girl so she doesn't do the same thing. Maybe have a conversation and explain to them what you liked and what you didn't like. And before you turn your nose up at the girls in the shops with 2 and 3 strollers or a baby on their hip and different color hair, wrap your arms around them and be a big sister, be an aunt, be a mother, be a grandmother, and help them in the next phase, as opposed to what you're doing now in some cases. So I think that's the thing. All of us, every last one of us, have potentially recruited a baby daddy that we didn't want and knocked on wood and didn't get pregnant. So before you turn your nose up, make sure you're clear. And those of you that are setting these men up, that are making it a point and a plot to come up, what goes around comes around. It's not always what you think. And those of you who are wives that think you're better than because of that, let's let that go too. Because some baby mamas are way happier than some wives and husbands out here. So if we stop judging and kind of have the conversation and get to know how we can help each other, we'll be better off. That's just my thing. See you next episode. Ooh, that was heavy.